Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. I'm going to say this video, we are now 2 days away from Christmas 2015, and I figured what the hell, do a video on a Christmas movie series. Which is, of course, if you read the title of this video, I'm doing the Santa Claus movies, starring Tim Allen, and they're all made by the Disney Company, which of course owns ABC. And the reason why I making that fact is that the first Santa Claus movie was released in 1994, and it was at the height of the television show Home Improvement. It was also made by Disney and aired on their network, ABC, which they own, which was ABC. So I figured that since the show was hot and Tim Allen was pretty hot because of that show, I just figured, oh, they'd probably be good enough to make and have him do a series of movies of quote family friendly movies. And it was actually, I think it was the first one, was his first Santa Claus movie. And of course, next year, or the very next year, 1995, was of course one of the movies that he's best known for, other than the Santa Claus films. And that, of course, the Toy Story movies. But that's a whole different subject for a whole different day. For this video, it's during the Santa Claus films, and give me 1 second. The little sounds because I was recharging my phone. Um, of course, the first Santa Claus film came out in 1994, and it stars Tim Allen as a guy named Scott Carlson. And of course, the premise of this film is that he plays a divorced father, and who has his son over for Christmas Eve, and um, after reading him the story of the famous poem "Twas the Night Before Christmas," his son heard a strange sound up on the roof. So Tim Allen goes to check it out, and he saw a guy dressed up as a Santa Claus on the roof, and so he goes, "Hey!" Scares Santa Claus. He falls off the roof and he dies. Pretty morbid, but a typical comedy thing with Tim Allen, especially from his television show, Home Improvement. So what happened was, after Santa Claus dies, he checks him for ID, and he sees this little business card that says Santa Claus on it. But he didn't read the like real tiny uh, fine print, which you want to get to in a minute. So what Scott decides to do is he puts on the Santa Claus suit. His son climbs into Scott's son, his name is Charlie, climbs into the Santa sleigh, and they have all the reindeer up on the roof and the sled. And say, "Dad, look, we got Santa's sleigh up here with all the reindeer." And and so Scott gets in there, puts on the Santa Claus suit, and the sled takes off, and they go from house to house and delivers all Santa's toys. And then they go and say, "Oh, let's go home." And they go to the North Pole, and the head elf says to him, "You're the new Santa Claus." I said, "What the hell are you talking? What?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" Tim Allen says to him, "What are you talking about? I'm not Santa." He said, "Well, you put on a suit, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah, did Santa die?" He said, "Yeah, he died off on the roof. He fell off on the roof and he died. So he put on the suit and delivered the rest of the toys, and that's it. I decided, since he died on my roof, or falling off my roof, I decided to do him a favor." So he says, "So as soon as you put on the suit, you're the new Santa Claus." That's how they kept the run going. Uh, if you put on if Santa dies, in your house, like in this case, falling off your roof, and you put on the suit, you're the next Santa in the chain of Santa Clauses. He says, "Oh, come on!" And he saw him the fine print on the business card, and it says here, "You're the new Santa Claus." Oh boy! And all of a sudden, he has to keep it secret from his ex-wife, because now remarried to Judge Reinhold of all people, from the Beverly Hills Cop movies. And naturally, of course, his son tells his mother, "Hey, mom, guess what? Daddy's house is the new Santa Claus." Of course, they didn't believe the kid. They felt all the adults felt, even Tim Allen Tim Allen's character to a certain extent, that they shouldn't believe in Santa Claus. That he's getting like a little too old to believe in Santa. But the kids still believe in Santa. So they don't give a shit. They still believe in Santa Claus. So so they try and convince them that Santa Claus is a myth. There's no such thing as Santa Claus and all this stuff. Uh, but now Tim Allen is beginning to believe that there is a Santa Claus and he's a new one. Of course, over the course of the year from last Christmas, when he first put on the suit, to the next one, he starts getting fat. He starts growing a beard. The famous white beard. His hair turns white. Not even gray, but white. And then when he does to shave the beard, the beard instantly grows back, as if by magic. Well, Santa Claus mojo there. And of course, when he's trying to convince his ex-wife that he's actually Santa Claus, what his wife does is she figures that, okay, he's nuts. And it's almost kind of like a little Miracle on 34th Street deal, because she sued and got full custody of the son, which of course isn't right. But that's what happens. And of course, at the end of the film, she is convinced. She is now convinced that her ex-husband is actually Santa Claus. And now and by the end of the film, Tim Allen convinces her, "Hey, I'm a new Santa. Here's all the stuff that you always wanted when you were a kid. The stuff you told me that you always wanted as a girl, or the toys that you always wanted to get, but the parents never got you, or toys that you had that broke, or your parents threw away, or whatever. Here's all this stuff." And then it says to her new husband, "Here's the stuff you always wanted when you were a kid." And then they were convinced that he was actually the new Santa Claus. And what the wife did is she ripped up the new agreement, giving her sole custody. She rips it up, and that's it. And then they see him go off to deliver presents for that Christmas, for the next Christmas. That was the first movie, and believe it or not, that movie was a pretty big hit. It got pretty decent reviews from the critics at the time. And I thought it was kind of an interesting premise and how they actually kept the line going with Santa Claus. It's not just one guy who's like like 1,000 years old guy going around delivering presents. It was interesting how they kept that premise throughout this film. I thought it was interesting how they did it. I thought it was pretty. When I first saw this movie, I thought it was pretty cool idea. Um, with him putting the Santa suit on, and becomes a new Santa. I thought it was pretty cool. It leaves a different take on the typical, or excuse me, science. It has a stereotypical flip on stereotypical Christmas movies, which is pretty bland, pretty. Everything has to be like super white Christmas and all those stupid movies. It always has to snow on Christmas Eve, all this other crap. But and this movie's no different either, with the white Christmas angle. But at least it was entertaining and changed, you know, at least to me, at least changed the premise of the film. And surprisingly, it took Disney 8 years to convince Tim Allen to maybe do another sequel. I don't know why it was 8 years before they did another sequel. Uh, but also, I think one of the reasons is that Tim Allen was still doing the television show Home Improvement, and he was also doing other movies as well. Like the Toy Story films, he did another one called Jungle the Jungle. He did, years down the line, he did the Christmas with the Cranks. He did other films. He did Wild Hogs. He did so many other films But I guess he didn't have time to do. And I know I'm getting mixed up exact titles of the films that Tim Allen was doing, but still, he was still doing the television show and didn't end to like 5 years later, in 1999. So I guess after he was free doing that, he went back and decided to do another Christmas Santa Claus movie. That's Claus, the Clause. Claus. The way Santa Claus is, it's like a fun little pun with the words with the wording of it. The second movie came out 8 years. Like I said earlier, 8 years after the first one. Came out in 2002. At this time, it's called Santa Claus 2, on the second clause, which is of course he has, since it's the new Santa, he has to find a business clause. Which is of course everybody is, and it pretty much brought back the whole original cast. I know it's the same kid, but and the son, I'm talking about the son Charlie. I don't know if it's the same actor. And then follow that closely if it was the same kid or not. Anyway, this time his ex-wife has a kid with her new husband, who's a girl. So you have a new cast member in this movie. And what happened was they also have another new cast member. I forgot the actress's name, but the son Charlie, I think, is now in high school now, and he's like is rebelling against his parents because he's upset over the fact that he has to keep the secret that his father is Santa Claus all these years. So he's becoming a little bit better, a little more rambunctious, I guess you could say. And was vandalizing the gym in the school gym. And he got caught by the principal, and the principal was a major hottie. And she is like a blonde woman, a blonde. And I'll tell you, I never had a principal who looked like this. They're all guys. All the school principals I ever had, they're all men. I never had a principal who looked like this. Anyway, um, and she had several conferences with Tim Allen, and Tim decided, hey, he got word that his son is on the naughty list, and so he decided to help out his son. And meanwhile, he made a duplicate of himself with this machine they had, and the duplicate was messing up everything. And of course, Santa Claus had to come in and take control and destroy the duplicate. And the duplicate was also played by Tim Allen as well, and they put like a plastic mask on him, an animatronic mask, and it was really interesting how they did the makeup for that. Uh, he took like hours and hours and hours in the makeup chair to get his face to look like that, look like plastic molding, like a plastic action figure or something. Um, anyway, he starts talking to the principal, and all of a sudden he says like a connection with this principal, and how she didn't believe in Christmas anymore. The parents broke up and they split, and didn't give her the same good happy memories of Christmas. So Tim Allen's saying that okay, it can help rekindle her love for Christmas, and he starts flattering her with all these gifts, um, and all that stuff. And then of course that happened to work, and she starts falling in love with Scott, the Tim Allen character. And of course, you know what happens. Of course, she became the next Mrs. Claus. I thought it was a really, really cute story. The silliness part comes, of course, with this duplicate Santa, so screwing up everything, but being like a little dictator. Um, but I felt that the second Santa Claus movie, I thought it was kind of cute. What it was, especially I liked the relationship between Tim Allen's character and the high school principal. I thought that was a really, really cute angle. And also, of course, everybody, his family who knew who he was, pretty much accepted that he was the new Santa Claus, and all the craziness that he has to do to prepare for his famous sleigh ride on Christmas Eve. So everybody pretty much accepted it. And of course, eventually, the principal, she first got mad at him, and then of course, eventually forgives him and all that stuff. And then eventually, and of course, at the end of the movie, they end up getting married at the end of the film. Big spoiler. Um, but the second movie I thought was a pretty good one. at least it doesn't follow up, especially they put in the Mrs. Claus myth into the mythos of this Santa Claus universe here. The third film, which came out in 2006, and it was like a fourth 4 years later. And of course, in the second movie, they established the Easter Bunny because they had a conference of these mythical creatures, or these howling guys. They had the Easter Bunny, they had the Tooth Fairy, they had Mother Nature in it, uh, and they had the Sandman. All these mythical creatures, in the second movie, but they all returned for the third one. Plus, they added an extra character, Jack Frost, was played by Morgan Short. And Morgan Short was jealous. Oh, not only did they add Jack Frost, they also added a couple other characters, which we're going to get to in a second. Um, well, Jack Frost is one of the subplots of the third film, which was titled Santa Claus 3: The Escape Clause. And we get to what the escape clause was also in a minute. Like I said, Jack Frost was like the villain in this thing. And I figured, okay, put a villain in this one. Because really, the first two films, you really didn't have a villain in it. This one you have, and Jack Frost, again, like I said earlier, played by Morgan Short. And what he did was he was jealous because he's the one who creates winter, creates the atmosphere of Christmas every December. And he feels like jealous that Santa Claus took all his thunder away, pretty much. So he's annoyed. He's been around, doesn't know the Santa Claus, and Santa Claus took all his thunder, and Jack Frost isn't getting any credit. So he's going to get even somewhere with Santa Claus in some way. So that's one of the main plot points. The other plot point is that his wife, Tim Allen's wife, or Mrs. Claus, playing again by the same actress from the last film, she was, really depressed. She was they're pregnant, or she's pregnant at this time in this film. And of course, in the end of the movie, of course, we know what happens. She gives birth at the end of the movie. Big spoiler. But for the film itself, she's depressed because she misses her family, because her family's not there. So what Tim Allen says was, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we invite our families here to the North Pole for Christmas? And she tricked. So her parents, or the in-laws, were played by Anne Margaret and Alan Arkin, and they were pretty good in this movie. Alan Arkin was kind of like a sillier character than Anne Margaret was, but they were entertaining. They were fun. To see them again in this movie. So they're trying to entertain the in-laws, trying to keep the peace and have a good time, and try and fool them. Try and fool the in-laws. They're saying that he's a toy maker, and he has this big factory in Canada, not in the United States, because it's cheaper in Canada, and not in the North Pole, and actually Santa Claus. But of course, we all know what happens. They find out that he's Santa Claus by the end of the film again. Again, they did this premise by trying to hide the secret that he's really Santa Claus until the end of the movie. So of course, by the third film, you get tired of that particular premise. But it was kind of silly that they're trying to keep this bit from the in-laws. But the other bit was going with Jack Frost. And Jack Frost, what the escape clause is, within the contract, that they have each Santa Claus, each person who becomes Santa Claus has a special magical snow globe. And it works, or works until when the Santa Claus, dies. And if Tim Allen, if he ever gets tired of being Santa Claus, he grabs his own personal, snow globe that was made for him, a magical snow globe that was made for especially him. He'll grab it and hold on to it and say, "I wish I was never Santa Claus." And of course, he reverts back to the time when Santa Claus was over his roof. And of course, he doesn't put on the coat, and of course, he never becomes Santa Claus. When Jack Frost heard that from the elves, he finagled this information out of the elves. Uh, he decided, okay, where's this snow globe? So he found out where Santa Claus kept all those magical snow globes and tricked his, I guess, niece, I guess, which is the daughter of his ex-wife, uh, who she had with Judge Reinhold's character. So she called him Uncle Scott. She found out when the snow globe was, and he tricked Santa Claus with Tim Allen's character to say that. So they revert back to the time where Santa Claus fell off Tim Allen's roof, and he and Jack Frost were fighting over, trying to stop each other from grabbing the Santa Claus coat. Well, Jack Frost got first, and of course he was no longer Santa Claus. And that his ex-wife got divorced from John Reinhardt's character. Um, and so that he totally screwed up the relationship because he couldn't compare to them. He was never around, and Tim Allen was never around to help out. Um, and that type of stuff. And of course, he found out. Tim Allen found out that Jack Frost canceled delivering presents on Christmas. If you want presents on Christmas, come up to the North Pole. So he reads this whole thing here, like North Pole Airlines charging people hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to come up to the North Pole and see the Santa's workshop and see the particular Broadway shows. There's even one bit which is kind of annoying and silly, with Morton Short singing instead of saying New York, New York, and it was sung to New York, New York, but it was called North Pole, North Pole. Like, I was that singing, I was rolling my eyes over that. Um, but of course, eventually, Tim Allen got his revenge on Jack Frost and tricked him back. Um, and beat him and got a Santa Claus suit and went back to when present day was 2006 and everything went back to where it was before. And that was at that point when Ann Morgan and Alan Orkin found out that he was Santa Claus. And of course, he went on to the famous ride, and that was it at the end of the movie. But as a whole, I thought these were, entertaining movies, even though they didn't have their, you know, silly plot points. And the the first film I thought was obviously the best one. The second one was like a decent follow, not a great follow up, but decent. Especially when they put in the Mrs. Claus thing. I thought it was kind of a cute thing and relationship thing between him and the school principal. And the third one was just a silly thing that I felt closed up the whole trilogy. And of course, the end of the third film, Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, um, and of course had the birth of, the baby, or the Claus baby, and called Bunny Claus. It was kind of like a silly explanation when they call him Bunny Claus, but whatever. The film is the film series was a pretty good series, pretty cute series, and these films are entertaining enough for kids. I'm saying that entertaining enough for kids. The whole family can watch. It's not really all that offensive compared to other Christmas movies. You can say they're annoying and offensive and not so much offensive, but depressing. These movies are not depressing at all. They're fun, silly movies to watch at Christmas time. Kind of like Christmas Vacation, which I never really watched. I know I'm going to get blasted with that remark, but I never really watched the Christmas Vacation because I'm never really a big Chevy Chase fan. But now those movies have been constantly being playing for the last month on this whole month because it's not December. Like I said, 2 more days for Christmas, and so I figured since this whole week they were showing the Santa Claus movies, I figured okay, let me see these movies so I can review them because I like Tim Allen. That's why these movies I kind of like because of Tim Allen. because I like him, I like his comedy, I love this television show. I was a big fan of Home Improvement, so I figured give these movies, you know, I saw a little bit of the first one before, but I felt I never gave these movies the just due, and hopefully I did in this video, and I hope you all like this. I hope all of you who subscribe to my channel and all that, um, also like my review of this particular movie series. So that's my review of the Santa Claus series. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all my videos, not only on my YouTube channel, but also you can go to rowdyc.com. It's all WDY. RowdyC.com. That's the homepage of the Valley Reviewer, TV Trash Guy. You can check out all of his videos on his site as well. Plus, there's also other content on his page, his website as well, of other critics as well. Not just me, not just him, but other ones. Because originally it used to be just him. Now he had other critics as well, and I think I'm not 100% sure on this, but one of the more recent guys who joined up on the site been on it for most of this year. He's posting my videos on his website, so you can also check out his website as well, and his videos and his other content that he has on his website. And for me, to all of you who happen to be watching this video, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. Don't drink too much eggnog, folks. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.